So I see quite a lot of Bitcoiners here, young ones. So my first question to you, who already managed to orange pill your parents to get them into Bitcoin? Okay, we have a few brave ones. Somebody made sure that their grandparents also use Bitcoin? Anybody? Oh, there's like half a hand right there. Good job on that. So how to finally make sure that our parents will get it? You know, what tools to use? This is what we're gonna speak about today. You know, the best education tool that we ever had in the civilization was developed hundreds of thousands of years ago, even millions of years ago, before humanity. And that tool was fire. Because before we had a written word, before we had Premier Bitcoin diploma books, all the podcasts and everything, people are gathering around fire and sharing stories. This was the way how we educated ourselves. There was no written nothing. So in order for you to survive, to live past 20, 30 years old, you need to learn from your parents, from your tribe, what are the things that you shouldn't eat? What are the animals that you should avoid? And today I feel that we are missing this core ingredient, storytelling. Stories are things that throughout the humanity really manage to create emotions and have things stuck in our minds. Today when I see a lot of great Bitcoiners, you know, teaching their parents or anybody else, they use a lot of jargon, a lot of technical terms, a lot of complicated words. And when I tell you decentralization, open source, it's very hard to imagine something around it. But our brains, because of all the fire talks, were developed in a way that we listen to stories. We need to create images in our mind. And the more images we have, the more emotions we create, the more things stuck. So today I'm going to share with you a few stories from around the world that you can use when you're going to be explaining why Bitcoin to your parents. So if you want to explain your parents, you know, not your keys, not your coins, we love this meme, but it's just a meme, it's just a few words. It doesn't have this, you know, emotional charge in it. What you can do instead, you can show them this image. Who knows what's happening in this image? Who saw it before? A few people here. What's your guess? What do you think is happening right there? Yeah, you. Rob, like a bank robbery, right? So we see a guy with the gun in the bank. That's all correct. But the difference is that he's not robbing a bank. He just came for his own money. And this is a story from Lebanon. His name is Basim. He's a 42-year-old food driver. And in 2022, he needed $100,000 for medical bills for his father, who was having cancer. He came to a bank, and the bank said, "Okay, sir, sorry, we can give you $3,000 maximum." I was like, "No, I need to save my father. I need to pay his medical bills. I need my money. Sorry, this is everything we can give you." He was okay. Enough is enough. He came to a bank with a tank of gasoline, with a gun, and he said that he will set himself on fire if he's not getting his own money. There was a huge drama. It lasted for 6 hours. And hundreds of people gathered in front of the bank, but not just to watch what's happening, but to really support him. They were cheering for him. He was finally the one who just grabbed the situation by the grip and started to do something about it. So it lasted 6 hours, and in the end, he came out with $35,000, not that 100 that he needed. Immediately when he exited the door, the police took him and put him into jail. But after 1 week, they dropped charges. Why? Because he just came for his own money. When this story came out, another 7 people repeated the same thing in 1 week. With fake guns, with real guns, never hurting anybody, just demanding their own money. After a couple of trials, banks said, okay, enough is enough, we don't have enough capital, and they closed down for 2 weeks. Realizing this, and going through and imagining ourselves being in that position, that's what really strikes us, that not your keys, not your coins. This is how we really can get like, okay, money in my bank, it's not my money. It's not even in a bank, it's not even money. So this is something where we have to realize that this is the true power that Bitcoin can bring to us. This is why we need it. Because we can say like, okay, it's in Lebanon, it's kind of far away. But maybe anybody experienced when your card was just declined or somebody blocked your account and you couldn't do a payment on a vacation or somewhere? Yep, you had that experience. And how was your first feeling when it happened? You were like, oh my God, maybe I have a second card, maybe not. I don't have any cash with me. And suddenly there was just a little bit of what probably the guy was experiencing. So this is one of the stories that helped my parents to understand why we really, really need Bitcoin. Another thing, open source, of decentralization. Most of our moms, they love cooking. My mom does as well. So let's get into the cooking a little bit. Imagine that you're going to a restaurant. Dear mom, you love your pasta carbonara. Let's imagine you're going to a restaurant. But in some restaurants, they put, something inside that you're allergic to. And now imagine that, you're going to the restaurant, ordering the food, but you tell them, hey, please don't put these spices in, because if you do, I'm super allergic. And then the waiter goes to the kitchen, and you're kind of like sitting there, hoping the person not to put there anything that you're allergic to. Anybody allergic to peanuts or something crazy? Anybody can die from some allergy here? There's some hand like, I feel you, I feel it. Imagine those feelings, and it's hard for me to imagine how you feel in the restaurants, hoping that the food will be correct. So that's the closed-source system. You need to trust the chef. You need to trust the whole procedures that they were done properly, because if not, you can get super serious bad reaction. That's a closed-source systems. On the other hand, let's talk about open source. Open source would be you cooking the food yourself at home. You have the full recipe yourself. You follow the lines of code. Because Bitcoin, let's be honest, it's just a recipe. It's lines of code that the protocol follows and cooks the whole node and software by the lines. And you know exactly what goes in. You can verify everything. So you are sure that you don't need to put something you're allergic to into your food. So when you're speaking to your mom, and if she loves cooking, this can be an analogy and a story that you might use to explain the difference between open source and closed source. And control over money. Now imagine this book being in thousands of copies around the world. Imagine that your mom said, okay, pasta carbonara, but I would like to put some pineapple inside of it. Italians will kill you if you put pineapple on anything or ketchup into something. But what you can do, you can change the recipe yourself. Nobody is preventing you from doing that. But if you do change the recipe yourself, if you could cook the food differently, it doesn't mean you change the recipe for the whole world. And in the same way, the Bitcoin works. When I explain to my parents or anybody else what protects Bitcoin, this is the protection. That it's like a book copied in millions or hundreds of thousands of copies around the world. And for somebody to change, they would need to change every book around the world. And practicality of doing that, it's practically impossible. So this is what protects Bitcoin. It's not the code itself, it's the distribution. Just like with the recipe. You can change the code on your node, but to change it around the world, good luck with that. What about proof of work? Kind of concept that's hard to explain as well. Let me take you on a journey to 19th century. Imagine you're living in 1871 on a little island in Micronesia called Yap Island. Do you know what you see on the picture? Do you know these stones? There is the meme saying, like, if you don't know these stones, you're not a Bitcoiner. So listen to the story. In 1871, imagine you're living there, and this is the currency you're using. These stones are called rice stones. They're very special. They range from small ones, from 3 centimeters big, all the way to the biggest ones, weighing more than 3 tons, being 3 meters in diameter. And what is interesting on them? They have a hole inside of them. Because only the stones with the hole are considered a currency. We will get back to it, why it matters. How this currency works? The biggest stones never move location. They're still staying at the same place. What changes is the ownership. Just like in blockchain, there's nothing transferring. It's just ownership of Bitcoin being transferred to a new address. So it's very similar to old rice stones. One day, what happened is that this big stone was carried on a wooden canoe across the island. There was a big storm coming, huge waves, and the stone sank with the canoe. But the most interesting part, that the stone served for 10 years as money, because people knew it's down there and nobody moved it around. So again, very interesting. We realize money is just a construct. We don't need to see it for it to function as a money. Just like when you tap a card, you don't need to see that, but it functions, right? Rice stones the same way. In 1871, the guy named David O'Keefe, a sailor, ended up on the island. You saved him, your tribe with your guys saved him, and he, as a favor, brought you a lot of metal tools. And you realized, oh, I can carve the holes inside of these stones more easily. What happened? Hyperinflation. The tribe divided into two parts. One were super happy that we have new money coming. The other part of the tribe realized, oh my God, my stone is worth much less than a week ago or 1 month ago. So somebody was happy with money creation. Again, something that we know from today and was happening throughout centuries in the past. And what about the hole inside of the stones? Two purposes. First, practical. You can stick a coconut palm inside of it, and 10 people can move the stone somewhere else. But more important thing is the proof of work, because only the stones with the hole inside of them were considered money. So it's very interesting. Something that you cannot see, the stone, it's just the hole you see through. That is the proof that the work had to be done. Because to create these stones, it took a lot of effort to carve the hole with the primitive tools. So this is something, again, very interesting to consider. Something that Nick Szabo called unforgeable costliness. You can very easily verify it, just looking at the stone, but it's very hard to create it, just like mining Bitcoin. So if you want to explain proof of work, this can be one tool, one example you can use as well. Inflation, something we experience today, but something that in other countries was much crazier. Another story, I'm taking you very far away. Where do you think this place is? Which city? Any guesses? Yes? Venezuela, exactly. This is Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. In 1950s, Venezuela was the top 4th richest country in the whole world per capita. They were 12 times richer than China. Can you imagine? Venezuela, 12 times richer than China per capita. They had the largest oil reserve in the whole world. Not even Middle East catches up on them. The largest in the world. Sadly, today, and especially between 2015 and 2019, the biggest hyperinflation that people could ever imagine. And this touched a lot of lives. The picture you see behind me, it's from the street of Caracas, where children, 9-year-old children, leaving houses because they didn't have anything to eat within the families, and they were fighting on the street with knives just to get food. There were children with scars on the faces and on their bellies, scraping for food this way. And it goes even further. What you see behind me, sadly, is not a crib with a baby. It's a shoebox where the baby was put. During 2015, the mortality of newborns was 100 times larger than years before. Why? Because mothers has nothing to eat. They had malnutrition and they couldn't feed their babies. And during those times, the formula for 1 month for a baby cost the same as 2 months of a salary of regular worker. This is something that can happen when government prints money, mismanage the whole country, and the society just breaks out. I spoke with some Venezuelans. They told me it's going to take about 50 years for a country to get back on track. This is why we crucially need Bitcoin. Because we can talk about the data and technicalities, but we should really see what's happening around the world when money is being broken. These images show us that for you, it's even better to wipe your ass with bolivars in Venezuela than to buy a toilet paper, because this is the amount of bolivars you need to buy a toilet paper. Very, very sad stories from around the world that can really explain why we need Bitcoin. My father, he's kind of a believer in better government. He still thinks that we can vote for a better politicians. And sometimes I talk to him about what's happening around. He spent a few months of a year on Roatan with me, and he's already started accepting Bitcoin for his fig jams that he's doing, for sailing courses that he's doing. And I'm so excited he's slowly getting into Bitcoin step by step and using it in his daily lives. Stories is something that was with us for millennia, for tens of thousands of years. Stories were something that is powerful. We don't need special technical tools to explain Bitcoin. We don't need special, softwares. We just need to show people what the problem is and what the solution might be. We need to show that world really, really needs Bitcoin. But one of the most powerful stories that you can have are your own experiences, why you started to use Bitcoin, what helped you to get into it, and how it saves your life, how it saves your savings. Because this is something nobody can take away from you. This is something that your surroundings, your family and friends will understand because they know you and they know your experience. So you being the storyteller, you being what I call the micro-educator is one of the most important things. So next time you're going to have a fire party with your family or a dinner, get some stories out there and explain why Bitcoin really matters. The word amity was a word that was kind of forgotten, not very used in English. The amity means cooperation, fellowship, friendship, and harmony. And looking around the world today and opening Twitter, I think this is something what we need crucially in these times. I believe that Bitcoin can really take us to the world of amity. Because if governments cannot print money, if we take this sovereignty and opportunity from their hands, they cannot finance stupid and infinite wars, which we can see today. And if people have one measurement of value, I'm sure that we can cooperate on a better level and we can have more friendship and fellowship. And that's how our company came to be. We just realized that for us and me and my business partner, Bitcoin can take us to the age of amity, to the age of cooperation. And we just flipped the words and named our company Amity Age. And we created this little character. Her name is Amity Nakamoto, the granddaughter of Satoshi. Because Satoshi disappeared. He left us with this amazing tool that we use today, every day. But it's up to us to spread the tool. And we designed little Amity Nakamoto as the representation of the young blood of us Bitcoiners, the storytellers, the micro-educators, who can take this beautiful tool and spread it across the world. So I wish you all the luck in speaking to your family, to your parents and grandparents. Be a great storytellers, be a great educators, and live Bitcoin. Thank you.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.